Hey, so today we're speaking to ÀSÍKޮ, a visual artist who creates autobiographical work using photography, mixed media, and film. Now,
Mm.
his work is constructed in the narrative that straddles between fantasy and reality as a response to his experiences of identity, culture, and heritage. Seeking to change the narrative and perception of the African aesthetic and ideology, ÀSÍKO studies and researches Yoruba culture to understand his identity and infuse it into his work. Now,
Excited.
so we've met at a couple of African art events in London over the last couple of years, but today is actually the first chance we're going to properly get to meet the man behind the work. So hello, how are you?
Hey guys, wow, well, that's a heck of an introduction.
It's all you.
Hope I can live up to all of that. It's like you guys are now my hype people.
It's pleasure. It's our pleasure. Honestly, we've been following your work for a while, so it's really exciting to have this opportunity to talk to you today. So we'll be chatting and chilling.
Jeez.
So when
Nice.
we'll be talking about things like food and other sorts of things that nourish you. In the chat, we're going to be talking about the topic that you wanted to share, and I'm really excited to get into that. I'm really excited to get into that. And then chill, we always wrap up with some things around culture, music, travel, and things.
See how she slowed it down. It's a conversation.
Okay.
Cool.
Sorry.
Right. It's okay.
Somebody decided that they were gonna call. I should have put my stuff off. I should have put my stuff off, but I totally forgot. You know when you're supposed to put your alerts off, so I apologize for that. Let's roll.
No worries. Let's chop. So, if you were cooking for one of your heroes, who would you cook for? What would you cook for them, and why?
No pressure. No pressure.
Yeah, right.
So we do the hype, and then we land it.
You two are unbelievable. So I would definitely make something from the motherland. I would make a Yoruba dish. Now, I'd probably make something I love. So I would go along the routes of, you know what, I'd probably pick something from your playbook in terms of the ideology of a tapas type menu. Because I feel that the Nigerian menus, there's quite a lot of interest in tastes and things to play around with. So for one, plantain is a must. So plantain be in there.
I'm not even buying, but I'm happy.
Jollof, of course, because I feel that's kind of a gateway into Nigerian food in some way. What else? The Monica fish that I see around.
Our mom is happy. She's smiling now.
I'd love to have that because that's always an impressive plot, especially when it's laid out visually. It looks good. Something hot. Something, just a little pot. Ooh, pepper soup. Just to kind of aggravate their taste buds a tad bit. I'd probably have maybe something Ep3 related to, which is kind of spinachy in terms, but nicely cooked, and definitely would like to have some goat meat. Yeah, so goat meat, and then a bit of what's the last thing? Suya. We couldn't do it without suya. So I'd probably have all of these, and maybe if I thought some more, I'd probably have a few ideas and have all of this kind of laid out on the table. So it's kind of informal to bring that chat together. Now, this is a hard one. Who would I want to sit down and talk with? That's an interesting one. There are quite a few people, but let's just say, I would say Oprah. I'd love to sit down and talk to Oprah, especially with what's some of the stuff that's going on right now. It'd be interesting to speak to her. I'd love to speak to, I'd say, maybe something like David Oyelowo, because he's a bit of an activist right now. He's an actor. He's the guy who played Martin Luther King in Selma. And he's Nigerian, so I'd love to pick his brains. He's a Hollywood actor, so it'd be interesting to pick his brains about success. But I'd say Oprah would be possibly one of the people I'd love to talk to. Now, if we said people who are living and dead, are you guys allowing me to pick?
Yeah.
Okay, so this one might be slightly. It's a bit of a cliche for a Nigerian, especially considering how religious we are. But wouldn't it be amazing to sit down with the actual Son of God? Do you know how crazy? Do you know how crazy that is?
Yeah.
And to talk to him about things like the meaning of life. Why are we here? I mean, we kind of know some of what these are, but why did you give up? You know, you got hung on a cross? How? Why? There are a lot of questions about our existence, and especially with the stuff that we're going through now. There's a lot of questions that I would have in terms of that. And I'm a Christian, so that's for me, that's the paramount person I would speak to at this junction and at this time. Why do I do the things that I do, even though I don't want to do them, but then I do them? And the whole thing's about human existence and the mistakes we make. Yeah, I think those are the sort of people I'd love to have a conversation with and explore the meaning of life and, humanity.
That's something.
That was
philosophy.
Wow, yeah. Pepper soup, golden Oprah.
Exactly. Yeah, so you put Oprah. You put Oprah with food she hasn't really tasted before, and then it's like, oh, pick a little bit of that, or pick a little bit of this. Oh, let's have a conversation. Obviously, not wine. We need something different. Ooh, maybe some palm wine, but then something sweet.
I was just
gonna jump in.
I was just saying, just land there.
Something sweet as well, because palm wine is quite heavy. But then we'd have something sweet, maybe some sweet like dessert wine, but I haven't got any off the top of my head. All of that, just like interesting, chill out, nice sunny day. Actually, I would love it if it was in her garden. Have you guys ever seen her garden?
Oprah's.
Oh my God, it's like ridiculous. Like some of these actors, they hang out with her and they get to sit in her garden, and she like has all this food in her garden that just grows, and they pick it, and that's what they cook there. It's amazing. Somewhere out there in America. So yeah, it'd just be great on a sunny afternoon. Anyway, yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. People to speak to.
That was really good. Yeah, I'm absolutely full. Like I think we get into this chat. Whoa.
So you wanted to speak about the influence of African culture in what we create. But before we dive into that, I just want to take a step back and talk some more about your artist name, ÀSԻKޮ. Could you tell us a bit more about the influences on that?
Yeah, of course. So when I first started taking photographs, which was a really long time ago now when I think about it, probably about 10 years ago. But back then, I was just taking photographs for fun, just playing around. And then people approached me, okay, why don't you shoot my wedding? I thought, that's crazy. You want me to actually shoot your wedding? I just started taking photographs, but they felt my photographs were good enough. So, and then another person asked, and then another person. And then I found out, I'm all about capturing these moments, these very poignant moments, which are filled with emotion, which are, it felt like a story was being told through these wedding photographs. So I decided on the name ÀSÍKޮ. I'm Nigerian, and ÀSÍKޮ means time. It means that moment in time. So for me, that name just kind of clicked. And it was, just one word. It wasn't a long thing. I didn't want it to be, adeokelarinsphotographs.com. I didn't like the idea of that. It just sounded really dull. So ÀSÍKO for me worked. It's now translated, obviously, because I don't do like commercial work like weddings or events or anything like that. So it's now translated into, I'm now creating these moments within my work. It's a bit orchestrated. It's not like how you would document something, but I'm now like a film director creating these moments which are poignant, which have this emotion attached to them. And so it still translates there, but it now has different connotations in terms of what I do.
Okay. So going back to the original topic, what does African culture mean to you?
Ooh, it's kind of everything right now. And right now, with how, I mean, it's a bit of a crazy time. And I feel one of the things that would be interesting for the Black race to understand is how much where we come from is important, and being African or being Black has value. So for me, in my work, I look back and I pull from history, especially pre-colonial history. What were we like before the whole thing of colonialism set in? And you find, through my research, I find Africa was such a beautiful place. It's not without its problems, but it had this amazing culture and everything was working in unity. But, when you come and you disrupt that and you cause trauma to a whole continent, it really affects the trajectory moving forward. And that's what we're experiencing right now. It's that trauma from 400 years of slavery, of tearing up a whole continent based on commerce. Africa was divided up based on commerce. It wasn't divided up based on the people that lived there. So for me, culture and understanding where I come from is it's paramount to who I am, because I'm rediscovering my identity as a person. I live in the diaspora as well, but understanding where I've come from, for me, is one of the most important things, and it informs the work I create right now. So, yeah, for me, it's a beautiful thing right now.
And you talked about like going back and studying, and sort of almost coming to understand some more and learning more about history. What does that look like for you? Are you doing this through books, through conversations with people? What does the study look like, essentially?
So study. I'm kind of doing it. There are two paths that I find. One, I find, okay, so I did this project. No. It started off me speaking to a colleague who had gone through female genitalia mutilation, FGM. And she talked about, how she was held down when she was 13 and she was cut. And then, at the end of it, she was given a lollipop. And the pain of that thing is excruciating. And she was given a lollipop. Now, for me, I never knew about this. It's about, I think it must have been 2017. I didn't know anything about this. So I was kind of gobsmacked. I was like, people do this? And she said, yeah, it still happens till today. So I went back to research, well, why does this happen? And what's the origin of this? And I found in Nigeria, we have quite a big quite a problem, especially in the Yoruba states in Nigeria, and they perform it quite a lot. So research came from experiences and interactions, and came from work. The other thing I do is I kind of read on a, I guess, momentarily basis, where I'm looking at, so I have books, so I'm looking at Yoruba history. I'm looking at, well, what was Yoruba culture like before pre-colonial and post-colonial African culture? What is that like? How has it affected who we are? And how has it changed the culture? Because case in point, something I came across recently was the ideology of Eshu. Now, I don't know if you know, Eshu is the god of mischief, but he is also called the devil. which is a wrong conception, because so how it is the colonial masters didn't know. They wanted us to the idea was for us to bring down our culture. So what they did was they looked at certain things within our culture, and then they assigned the god of mischief as the devil. He's not the devil. If we go back and look, he's actually not the devil. It's like assigning Loki in the Avengers and saying, because he's mischievous and because of who he is as a person, he is the devil. Yoruba culture doesn't have that ideology of what the devil is. So those things were brought, and it actually changed the culture, that your people in Yoruba culture say Eshu is the devil, but Eshu is not the devil. He's just one of the pantheon of gods, who's the god of mischief. So there are things like that that I'm, learning about and debunking as well in my mind. And it's the big thing of decolonizing who we are. I feel like as Africans, we need to decolonize who we are. So there's this great show that I recommend you guys watch. It's on YouTube. It's called A General History of Africa. It was put together by a lady. I'll send you guys a link. But this lady works for the BBC. She's African, but she's lived here all her life. But one of the things she did is go around Africa, speak to the African historians, and then talk about aspects of culture. So actually, this TV show came out of a set of books. I think there are 9 volumes of this book. It was set up by UNESCO during the 1960s. UNESCO and the African, the sort of Pan-African movement presidents in Africa. During the 60s, Africa was going through the independence thing. So one of the things that was quite important is we have to decolonize our history, decolonize our minds. And these books were to do that. For some reason, they just didn't explode out. Sometimes, you can think about conspiracy theories as to why, but these books are a celebration of African heritage and the beauty of what Africa is. And it was done by African historians, not by any other colonial type history, none of that. It's pure African historians. So from those books, she's made this TV show. And I think they're about 13 episodes. Each one's an hour long. They're all now on YouTube, on the BBC, through the BBC, but I'll send you guys the link. And that's also, so I'm kind of chugging along through them. As I chug along through them, I might pick up a book, or if something interests me, I'll try and Google other things around it as well. There are a few YouTube guys who are great. There's a guy called Home Team Africa. Yeah, Home Team History Africa. He has an amazing platform, and he talks about African history, then, now, and how these things all relate. So that's always a good resource. So I kind of resource myself as well, learning things from all these different spaces, and that sort of stuff blesses me because it helps me find out, how Africa was and how Africa is right now. And that thing sharpens our minds to really understand where we come from. So yeah, I ranted on for a bit, sorry.
No, that was really enriching.
I think you're so right. You talk about trauma or a shock to the system affecting then the trajectory, and that affecting that trajectory. It's not just just changing the pace. You literally, you're going in a certain direction, and I suppose in order to get the compass back to true north, the only way to do that is to actually go back and find out what that initial trajectory was, so that you can bring it back. And actually, if you're not doing that, you're just continuing on that new trajectory, which is getting further and further away from true north. So
and you start to get a sense of value, when you look back and see how beautiful we are and how beautiful our country or our continents are, which are stunning. I mean, I go back to Africa, I try and go, and I'm now using my projects to make sure I go back. and not just go back to Nigeria, because I love Nigeria, but there are other places to see. When you go back, you start to see how beautiful the culture, the people, the space is. And then you start to really realize we should be placing value on who we are, on the skin we have, on the beauty we have, because the standards of beauty and the standard of what is great has been defined by someone else. And we're all beginning to see through those lenses of someone else. But we need to kind of decolonize so that we start to see through the eyes that we have, and then we start to place value on who we are. That when somebody comes into our country and says, you know, I'll give you these perfumes and these things, and you give me slaves, you tell them to jump off a bridge and never come around again, because that was what happened. We didn't value ourselves. And these guys came in and did all sorts of stuff for hundreds of years. That's trauma.
I wanted to just, you've obviously read and studied a lot. In your reading and your studying, what thing would you say that African culture has influenced most in the world? Like, is there something that we do in the world today? What is the thing which is most? And then the other question is there a particular myth around culture or specific or a specific African culture which you think needs to be debunked?
Very good one. I hope I can remember.
I'm not gonna lie, I was still reading from the last question. I was like, okay, let me prepare myself to have some more.
Okay, so first question was, God, what was the first question? Sorry, the second.
Why has the culture influenced the most? If you had to pick one thing,
Man, so I know this is possibly going to be controversial. It is, but I think there's some truth to this. You know what popular culture is now? It's African influenced. If we take it back, so let's take music. So they took the slaves, brought them to across the Atlantic. In churches, they started to sing through their pain. And that's the thing about Africans. We have so much soul that, you know, I saw people protesting, and a guy was doing a dance, but it was an interpretive dance of pain through this protest. We are just, I'm sorry, but there's no race like us, really. So how music is today is an influence of Africans. I feel if we weren't in that equation, music would not be like this. I don't care what anyone says. So we talk about the churches that used to sing through their pain, and that there came soul music. Soul music also spawned off things like rock and roll. So we have that sound, that rhythm, all of that stuff came from Black music. And now we're talking, there was R&B, hip hop, and all of that stuff. And, you know, we sing through our pain and we develop a new genre. Rap music was rebellion against the establishment. I can't remember what time period that was. All these different facets of music. Pop music now is dependent on all this music that came before it. The idea of drums, rhythm, movement, that stuff, I don't care what anyone says, came from us. It spawned off into these different things by all other cultures as well being influenced in, but soul music spawned off a lot of things. And even till now, Afrobeat, you know, it's its own thing, you know, it's an amalgamation of other things, but Afrobeat has come from, you know, is it Afrobeat that we all know? Is it Afropop? That's come from, you know, 60s, 70s, Fela's type of music, and how he was like an Afrobeat. He was one of the first people to start the Afrobeat. And then there are these other people, I don't really know that much in music on that, but these other people that have spawned off this style. But people have started copying Afrobeat in the West now. You know, I was in Miami in December and I was hearing Afrobeat playing on the radio. It's only a matter of time because it's a new sound. It will start to propagate through culture and people will start to take bits of that music. I'm beginning to hear dance music, which is beginning to borrow off Afrobeat because it's a different sound. I feel the Black race, and that stems from Africa, is just influential to, you know, how we dress now. Even that is, it's come from the Black race. You know, the whole thing about swag and people, that's come from us. We brought flavor to this planet, and a much needed flavor to this planet. So I feel, this is just the flavor bit. There's the bit where we are smart, but obviously in some instances, our name has been dulled down through history. So certain people were pioneers in, you know, you take that film, Hidden Figures, these women who were mathematicians and very intelligent, and through history, their influence has been dulled down. That happens to us quite a bit. We're also very smart. But I feel the problem is who writes the narrative. And once you understand who writes the narrative, they don't want, I guess, us to shine. And in some ways, they've dulled us because they write the books or they write the history. It's unfortunate, but I think that's kind of how things are. So we influence a lot.
The second question was about debunking the myth, but I didn't know if you'd answered that in that answer.
Well, I can't think of a specific one off the top of my head. Something in popular culture, and you know, it's annoying. Something will probably come to me because there are quite a few myths about some of the things that we've done, and it's like, oh no, it was a Black person that did that thing, or it came out from Africa. But there is, yeah, I can't think of anything. Sorry, guys.
Cool. Yeah, I think we should chill.
Yeah.
Good idea.
You touched on that you try to go back to Africa, you know, every year, not just Nigeria, and you obviously lived in Nigeria and, you know, live in UK. So I just trying to wondered if you could travel to any place in any city in the world, you know, in or outside of Africa, where would it be and why?
I would go to a place where ancient civilizations existed and there's still remnants of them. So I found there's some places in Mali which have beautiful old buildings that have been there pre-colonial. I think one of the biggest challenges of Africa, and it's partly our fault, partly colonial masters, because they came in and wrecked a lot of stuff. But those beautiful cities, we don't preserve them and we don't make them national heritage sites. So there's Benin. I definitely want to go to Benin. So there's Mali, there's Benin. In Benin had this amazing, beautiful city that was knocked. There was basically a war between the colonials and Benin City. Benin City had this big wall around it, nearly as long as the Great Wall of China, but it was around the whole city. It was knocked through and they plumaged and plundered the whole thing. And, you know, a lot of the stuff is now at the British Museum in the UK. I'd love to, Benin has this, it's just beautiful art. That's where a lot of this, bronze carvings and bronze metal work came out for, you know, in Nigeria. A lot of amazing stuff there. I'd love to go to Benin, love to go to Ile-Ife. It is a very intellectual, beautiful place about Nigerian history, especially the Yoruba culture. There is somewhere else, and I believe, isn't it the remnants of where Timbuktu was? I'd love to go there as well. There are quite a few places in our, then there's Senegal. So Senegal, it's stunning. They've got this whole, it's this whole river which is just pink.
Yes.
It's pink because there's the chemical formations in there. I just want to go there. You know, Benin, that I've been to twice because I'm working on a project. I'm still going to go next year in January, and that will be 3 times. I guess in the next 10 years, I do want to go to a new African country. Oh, there's Ethiopia, which just has, so Ethiopia is interesting because it has all these mixes between Christianity and their culture, and they kind of found a way to balance both of those together and bring them. I want to see how that's working. I want to understand how they've combined both cultures and they are coexisting. So there are probably places that I haven't even discovered, and when I discovered, I'm just going to want to jump on a plane. So yeah, quite a few.
If you've got space in your suitcase, we can make ourselves available.
Yeah. I'm ready for the tour.
I can hold a camera.
Let's do it, guys. Let's do it.
I can get out a lens.
Let's do it. Let's do it, guys. Let's do it.
I'm just gonna be a hype man, to be honest.
Like, yeah.
Come along. Let's do it. Let's do it. You guys, Nigeria. I know Nigeria. Did you go recently, like in the past year and so?
Well, we went.
Was it two?
The last time we were there was 2018. And
okay.
Just at the end of 2018. Had wanted to go in 2019, but
Mm.
we were trying to get the restaurant.
Yeah, get in the restaurants. Yeah.
So, and there were plans to go this year.
Yeah. That's not happening.
We should.
That's not happening.
But I think you know, it's funny. Something Ife and I've talked about a lot actually is about that sort of, I suppose, you know, Pan-African tourism. You know, as in, especially as someone from the African or Nigerian diaspora, not just only going to visit Nigeria and actually going and exploring. So Ife in particular was in Senegal.
I've been to the Pink Lake.
You've been there?
Yeah,
Nice.
2018. It is.
Oh, nice.
As
wait, we have just beautiful places that we don't leverage into tourist spaces. We're not making the most of, like Africa. The whole of Africa should be tourist center and we can generate stupid amounts of revenue from it. But I don't think we figured that out, and it's annoying. Sometimes some of these white companies will come in and they'll leverage it, but we don't understand the value we have. Our beaches are stunning. They're nothing like them on the planet. But yeah, Africa, that's where it's at.
So we've almost finished, but before we wrap up, we just got one more question. Yeah.
It better not be a hard question, guys. It better not be a hard.
I don't think it's hard. I don't think it's hard. I could answer it quite easily.
Okay. Let's go. Let's go.
It's just a bonus question. So, if you could be any animal, what animal would you be?
Okay.
If you know the animal, then yeah.
Sorry.
Animal. I think it's a bit of a cliche. It's a bit of a cliche, but it's very easy to say a lion. One, the guy's just chill, doesn't do anything. All the others do everything. And then when he wants to flex himself, he'll come and smack somebody around and then maybe kill somebody and stuff. And then he'll go back and sleep because he's lazy. He doesn't really do anything. It's all the women that do everything and they raise the kids. They do a lot of the hunting. And then the guy just chill. But the thing about the lion is how gloriously beautiful it is. Usually I found all the cats to be amazing, like in terms of, and I've stood in front of a lion when we went to Mauritius. It's so interesting how you do things it was a few years ago, it wasn't that long ago, but my wife and I went to Mauritius, a wedding anniversary. It's a stunning island to go to. And we went to one of the reserve parks, and we saw the lions there, but they were in these, the enclosures were massive, but they were still in enclosures. And then, you know, we are allowed to go into some of them with a lot of supervision. So you see the lions, you pet the lions. I just thought, this is weird. This shouldn't be happening. Why we're enclosing this beautiful, glorious beast? But seeing that thing up close, you cannot help but feel the power. And if it raised one of its paws on your head, it's kind of over. Because the paw is as big as your head. It's a magnificently beautiful animal. I think just because of its aesthetic, lions and tigers are, and the pumas, they're all gorgeous in terms of how they look. And I'm possibly likely to pick them. I'm gonna we're gonna stop going to zoos and all of that stuff. I don't like them anymore. I don't like how the animals, they don't feel like how strong they would be if they were out in the wild. And I understand the idea for these things to preserve and keep, but when you see things like Tiger King, you're like, yeah, that's a whole different game. Yeah.
You're
but
lying. You want to be lazy but beautiful. This is what I heard.
Yeah.
That was what I heard. I don't know about you.
But seriously, who wouldn't want to do that? Out in the African plains, people bring you food. You're kind of chill. You're out in the sun. You're kind of chill. Yeah. And then you look beautiful. You know, you have this big mane and everything. You look beautiful. What more can you ask for in life? Seriously, you want to be doing mortgages? You want to be paying bills?
Yeah, he's right. It's no, I really love you speaking. I think it's actually really that what you said about the animals. Obviously, you know, we are in this current hierarchical system, like the humans are, the top of the chain. But really, when you get up one-on-one with that animal, you realize how, you know, not just powerful they are, but how like glorious they are in the just and you actually just felt the heartbeat of like an animal, and it's just like, whoa, like it's so really, really enriching. So thank you
guys, thank you so much.
From food to chat to chill, like the Chat Chill was really, really, really wonderful. We went to Nigeria, toured all of Africa, came back to London, no more mortgages.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much, guys.
Take care.
See you soon.
Yeah, and you guys stay safe. Stay safe.